What is going on, 12s? Welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. My name is Sam. Thank you for joining me today. Well, we're waiting for the Seahawks OC news to come out. And, there was an update last night. Seahawks actually have interviewed Adam Stenovich. However, we have no idea when, no idea if it was in person or if it was virtual. There's not a lot on that. So we will see where that goes. We'll see if it materializes into anything. But regardless, that was something that happened. But right, really not much to talk about as far as the OC situation goes. So I figured, hey, Seahawks aren't playing football in January. Maybe we don't look to free agency yet, but it's never too early to start talking some draft. I love talking about the draft. I love talking about, hey, this guy's good, this guy's bad. What can we do at these picks? We're going to get right into it now. I will be doing PFF because I like their mock draft simulator the best. This comes with a caveat. I am a broke college student. I cannot afford Pro Football Focus. So we will be doing the free version, which means that we cannot trade and we can only do 3 rounds. Regardless, I'm kind of okay with that. I kind of just more so want to talk about what I think we should look at different positions, maybe some names that to look out for, and just talk Seahawks, talk ball, and talk some of these rookies because I've been getting to know this class a little bit, and I think I'm starting to get a little handle on it. So let's take a look. Let's get into this here. Let's go. We're gonna enter the draft now. I'm gonna start. Got these guys going off here. Um, let's see who they had going right before us. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shadur, Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Mike Green is a guy that's rising a lot. The edge out of Marshall, Josh Simmons, Malachi Starks. Okay, no one really crazy. Tyler Warren got picked right before us, went to Cincinnati. He would be a guy that I would like to take if he's on the board. I don't think he will be, but if he is on the board, I think that'll be a name to look out for. I think the Seahawks are almost certain to cut Noah Fant this offseason. I think he would be a name to look out for and a name to keep an eye on. So realistically, here I would be listening to trades. Obviously, I can't make trades, but if the Rams were calling me at 26 and I'm like, hey, give me, actually, the Rams don't really have that many picks. If the Lions were calling me at 28 and they're like, hey, I'll give you 28, 60, and 131 for 18, I would probably accept that. But obviously, I can't offer trades because this is the free version. But either way, we'll talk about some names here, what I would look out for. In my mind, the obvious spot to look out here is receiver. These Seahawks need a receiver really badly. It's just a position that with Tyler Lockett gone, there will be guys that are out there that could be taken. Egbuka probably will be on the board by the time we get here. It'll be close. He'll probably go off right in that range. Maybe JSN is vouching for his guy, but in reality, we all want them to take offensive line. Interior offensive line is where the Seahawks really need the help. They don't really need the help at tackle. Tyler Booker is a guy that's been getting a lot of buzz. He's huge, by the way. This guy's gigantic, 6'5", 325. Although I did hear that he's kind of, I think he's closer to like around 340, 350 now. He's big, really big. Um, and there's upside, there's pros and cons with that. If we were to say hire Clint Kubiak as our OC, run a lot of zone scheme, uh, I don't know how a 6'5", 340-pound guard would really fit in his own scheme. You have to be light. You have to be able to move. I don't think Booker is really a fit in that sense. You guys have like Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson. All these guys are kind of maulers. Ratledge is another guy, 6'6", 320, just a gigantic human being. But I really do think you're probably looking at offensive tackle here. Kelvin Banks is a great player. I believe he won the award for like best O lineman in the country or best tackle in the country, something like that. The reality is, I would be shocked if Kelvin Banks is on the board by the time we are here. I think he'll. I think Chicago would take him. I think San Fran would take him. I think the Dolphins would take him. I think the Cowboys would take him. Like I think there are so many teams that would take him before he gets to Seattle. I would be surprised if he drops to us at 18, which is why I'm not going to put that much stock into it, mostly because I just don't think it's very realistic. Another guy that's been getting a lot of buzz is Armand Membu, this guy out of Missouri. As you could see, pretty much exclusive right tackle experience. However, this guy has been consistently mocked as a guy that could kick into guard. He kind of has a prototypical guard build. Tackles are typically bigger, a little bit lighter, a little bit longer. Membu, as you can see, 6'3", 314, neither light nor tall. I mean, Charles Cross was kind of in that same boat where he was not really a tackle height. He was kind of talked about as being shorter, but he wasn't strong enough to kick into guard, so he plays tackle regardless. I think he's fine there, but Membu is strong enough, 314. He's a kind of a mauler out of the SEC. I mean, when you put up a 90 grade in the SEC, it's really impressive. Um, I've watched Membu move, and he's very athletic. I think he's a prime guy to watch out for. I think he is not at the Senior Bowl. He's a junior, but at this point, by the draft he will be 21. But at this point, he is under 21, 6'3", 314. This guy is kind of like a perfect guard fit at right guard or left guard for the Seahawks. Probably right guard. Kicking from right tackle to right guard is not that difficult of a transition. I think it could work. Connerly is another name that's really interesting to watch. Pretty much exclusive left tackle experience. Um, Connerly is very athletic, which I think could play into a scenario where you do bring in like a Clint Kubiak type of guy. Um, this is a really loaded tackle that can kick into guard class. I don't really love Cam Williams. I watched his tape. He got bullied a lot last year. I feel like he's kind of all potential. 6'5", 335 is gigantic, but kind of all potential for me. I like Jonas Savinea. I like Ersery. I like Donovan Jackson. Um, this is a guy who will is essentially a lock to play guard in the NFL. While he's projected low, he will be probably picked somewhere in the first round. 6'4", 320. Took a lot of snaps at left tackle this year after Josh Simmons got hurt. He's another guy that's in this draft. However, uh, he got hurt and he kicked out the left tackle and actually played really well there. But as you can see, the last 2 years before this year, pretty much exclusive left guard experience. I would really, if I was a Seahawks coach, if I was like the GM for the Seahawks, I really wouldn't take anyone else that's not an offensive lineman. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's worth it. I just don't. I think you know what the problem on your team is. There's really no quarterbacks that I would take in the zone. Like, you're going to have the Milrose that people are going to be like, oh, well, Milrow there. Like, why don't you want to take Milrow? Milrow is just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Milrow feels like a late second swing rather than a first round talent to me. That's just how I feel. Overall, if I was the scout for the Seahawks, I would also look at Colston Loveland. He might not be there. I'm hearing a lot of buzz that the tight ends in this draft are likely to go high. One name to look out for that I've been seeing in a ton of mocks is safety Nick Eman out of South Carolina. Um, and as to why a lot of people have been mocking him, look at that build 6'3, 227, and played a majority of his snaps in the box, in the slot. He played a little bit deep. And this guy is hyper athletic at 6'3, 227. I believe I saw somewhere that he runs like a 4.4 flat or something like that. Hyper athlete. I do think that the idea here is that Eman Wari replaces Rayshon Jenkins and he takes on the Kyle Hamilton role. That's a name to watch out for sure. He was in a really loaded South Carolina defense, and that's a name that I've seen mocked to Seattle a lot. But personally, if I was the GM for the Seahawks and I had to stay at 18 and pick someone, I think Membu is the pick. Played really well, played great ball in the SEC. I feel like his build is so perfect for guard. 6'3", 314, short, stout, long arms. I like Armand Membu personally in the first round for the Seahawks. Now we're going to get to the second round here. The second round is going to be interesting. Scattaboo is the top guy. I'm not going to take a running back. Don't think we need one. First, Couple guys that immediately catch my eye. Milrow still on the board here. This is kind of the zone where I would consider taking a swing on a guy like Jalen Milrow. Savion Williams is the first guy that catches my eye. I believe Jordan Reed had this guy as a projected riser. 6'5, 225 wide receiver. He wouldn't really be like replacing Tyler Lockett because obviously this guy is totally different build than Lockett. He plays a ton of different positions. Pass snaps, wide snaps. Like this guy just he plays in the backfield. He plays everywhere. 6'5", 225. When was the last time the Seahawks had a legitimate contested catch winner? Can I even remember one? Like Jimmy Graham? Is that the last time the Seahawks had someone that was really good at catching contested passes? Paul Richardson was pretty good, but like the Seahawks have not had a lot of players that can go up where if it's 3rd and 10 and play breaks down, you got to scramble and you just got to throw something up to somebody. I don't trust DK Metcalf to go up and get it. JSN has pretty good hands, but he doesn't have the build really to box out guys and go up for those contested catches. Williams makes a lot of sense to me. I think Williams is a guy that to look out for receiver. I feel like this is kind of receiver zone for me. Jack Beck is also a guy from TCU who's been getting a lot of talk. 6'2", 215, kind of a more prototypical wide receiver one type build. Another good year. TCU, obviously, pretty good offense. I would consider him for sure. Consider really any wide receivers at this point. Harold Fannin is a name that caught my eye down here. As you can see, that grade is ridiculous, mostly because Harold Fannin took the MAC, I believe that was where the Bowling Green plays, is where Bowling Green plays, took the MAC by storm. 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. This guy is kind of very raw as an athlete. 6'4", 230, very raw. He is athletic. He is not a blocker. Still 230 is very light to be a tight end. I would think if he's going to the combine, he would probably want to bulk up as much as possible because in the NFL, you have to block if you're going to be a tight end. You have to be able to block. The best tight ends, like the Kittles and Gronk could block. And, like there are necessarily like strictly receiving tight ends. I understand that, but you get the big money if you could catch and block. Fannin can't really block, but he has potential to be a really nice receiving tight end. I would maybe prefer to take someone who's a bit more balanced, though. So I'll keep his name in mind. Elijah Arroyo is another tight end name that I've heard a lot, 6'4", 245 out of Miami. Eman Warry's still here. I would not expect him to be there. A lot of people are talking about him like he will rise very quickly because he's such a freaky athlete at 6'3", 227. There's a chance he runs a sub 4.4 at the combine. I just don't see a guy like that lasting, especially after he had a really nice year in a really loaded South Carolina defense. I don't think he's really going to he's going to fall to 50. Tez Johnson is a name I would consider. Wide receiver out of Oregon. 5'10", 165. We know the obsession that John Schneider has with, the Pac-12. That's a name to look out for, in my opinion. Azarie Thomas is a name out of Florida State. Derek Harmon's a name that I like. I like Dion Walker. This is another guy that's been getting a lot of talk. Super raw athlete. He's the type of guy that like he always felt like he was on like the brink of breaking out, but he's just never really had the shot. He's another guy that a lot of people are talking about who could be a really quick riser just with his pure athletic traits alone. Jordan Birch is a name, a really big twitchy end. Man, there are so many legitimate options for the Seahawks here. Something is calling my name about Jalen Milrow, though. Like at this spot, there has to be a time where the Seahawks finally commit to going out and getting a quarterback. This feels like the perfect situation for Milrow. Milrow, in my opinion, if any team drafts him to start day one, it will be a colossal error. I really think that Milrow is the type of guy that is extremely raw, passing wise. Running wise, his legs are really dynamic and could probably make if he comes in to be a backup quarterback for a team and like rest for a year and get better just solely working on his arm. He could be the type of guy that could really factor into like trick plays, different formations, quarterback runs, that kind of thing. He is super athletic. His running ability is off the charts. It's just his passing and where it's at right now that really worries me. He's flashed moments where you're like, man, he can really zip that ball, but then he's also flashed moments like that Oklahoma game where you're watching, you're like, what is he doing out there? Like I don't know what he's doing at all. But this feels like the perfect situation for him, right? You get a new OC, pair him with a new quarterback. Gino is expiring at the end of next season. You say, hey, we're gonna go get this guy, and we want you to take him under your wing, and we want you to help him out and get him to where he needs to be. I think that makes a lot of sense. Man, this is tough because there's the pick that your brain is telling you that, hey, Geno Smith is not going to be here forever. You will need to at least face the idea of getting his successor at one point. Milrow kind of makes a lot of sense for the situation right now. But then there's also the point where you're like, hey, maybe we just go out and we get a good end. Maybe we go out. Jalen Walker probably won't be here in real life. I don't want to say, but like a really good linebacker, even like Air Surrey at tackle, 6'6", 330. Savenea, I really like. I really like Harold Fannon's potential. I think Deion Walker's potential. Like this feels like a good draft for the Seahawks. I'm gonna take a shot, man. I'm gonna take a shot. I'm gonna take a shot on Milrow. We've seen how running quarterbacks have impacted the playoffs this year with Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. And we've seen how these teams don't even really have to throw if they can run the ball effectively with their quarterback. And look at this, by the way. Harold Fannon's here at 82. That feels like a pick I would make. I do like Derek Harmon. I like Tez Johnson. In my mind, I don't think Donovan Jackson will be here. In my mind, I think you can take Harold Fannin at 82 and say, hey, we think this guy is the pure raw athleticism. We want to maybe, those San Francisco. I'm assuming I'm doing this all from the perspective that Clint Kubiak will probably be the offensive coordinator. Harold Fannin, like, what does San Fran love to do? They love tight ends. San Fran loves tight ends. The Shanahan offense and McVay and all of them, they love tight ends. They need tight ends in that offense. Fannin makes a lot of sense. Once again, can't really block, but the potential's there, man. And he's it's not only potential. The guy went for 1,500 yards this year. Sure, he's in the MAC, and it's not really a serious conference, but 1,500 yards is crazy. Fannin, super raw, super athletic. Feels like he could be a legitimate weapon if used right. And I think you're going to have to get a tight end. I think wide receivers are so plentiful. You could probably go out and find a usable, legit wide receiver 3 in free agency for not that much money. I don't think you could say that about Harold Fannin. I think Fannin makes a lot of sense. I think the potential with Fannin makes me want to go there. So this would be the draft, and you might notice a trend here. Let's let it load. Let the draft load. They're trying to get me to subscribe. This is the draft. They grade Milrow as a D plus. Of course they do. All in all, this is a draft I would like, and you're going to notice a trend. Offense only. That really felt like what was holding us back last year. And I think Membu kicks in immediately to right guard or left guard. I think Jalen Milrow sits on the bench for a year and you say, hey, we have this guy. He might not be ready to play, but man, he's got the raw tools that if we can hone these down, we will have a future franchise guy. You just have to work it out and you have to give him time. And, also he could really factor into your offense in the run game. I think that'd be really interesting if you're, hey man, like the red zone was a real struggle. How many times have we seen the Commanders on 4th and 1 at the 10 have a simple rollout bootleg with Jaden Daniels and you can either flip it to the tight end or he can run? I think Milroe factors into a lot of that stuff, and I think he makes a lot of sense there. Harold Fannin, once again, just a tight end that the Seahawks have never really had a legitimate tight end. We're going to need another weapon. Fannin is so athletic. I think if he is raw, but I think his raw athleticism straight up can get him open on linebackers. And I think that is enough for him to succeed. We've seen rookie tight ends also have success in recent NFL history as well. So this is my draft. I think really we're going to be talking a lot about the offensive linemen. We're talking a lot about the receivers, the tight ends, the tackles on the defensive side. Linebacker could be a need there. I think corner could be a need there. I think we will continue to see Nick Emanwari because so many people think he's so similar to Kyle Hamilton. I think we will continue to see Emanwari mocked to the Seahawks. Defensive end, you could never have too many defensive ends, even perhaps interior. Maybe we go out and get a true nose tackle and say, hey, you know what? Byron Murphy, you're going to play three tech only, and we're going to get a true nose tackle and help you out. A lot of stuff that can happen here. I'm very interested to see how it will go, and we will obviously continue to talk about offseason news. I'm thinking sometime next week I will have a free agents that I would like to see video coming out next week. And I'm just looking forward to keep talking about free agency. And obviously, once again, once that OC hire is announced, whether it's now or it's in 5 months when the Seahawks have already picked an entire team and they just promote, they bring back Daryl Bevel or something, because that's like they're just not doing anything logical at this point. I will have a video for that, of course, as well. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the draft below, especially Jalen Milroe. He's said to be a very polarizing option for the Seahawks. Once again, I don't love him. I just think it makes sense for the situation, and I think we have to confront the possibility of a rookie in the future. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will see you guys in the next video, and peace out.